Everybody, welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And on today's episode of the Prime, we're going to continue our UFL week previews and recaps. This time in week number 4, recap and preview week number 5. If you like what we're doing here at Prime Sports World, please like, share, subscribe to the podcast. I'm your host, of course, David On Point Huffman. Not my best week when it came to predictions. I think it was 2-2. TJ didn't have the best week either. So, but yeah, we'll go through the show, talk a little bit of how things unfolded this week in the UFL, and then we'll preview that next week. And every team now has gotten off the schneid, as every team now has had a victory in the UFL. So, sorry, hold on. I was really hoping to gain ground on TJ this week, but that did not happen. As we had TJ got 2 of the 4 right, and I got I got 3 of the 4 games correct, or 2 of 4, and TJ just got 1 game right this week. So pretty tough week for TJ. Yeah, TJ only got 1 right this week. So, man, that's tough. So TJ's now 11-5 in his predictions for the UFL, and I'm sitting pretty at 10-6. It's like I've gained a little bit of ground on TJ this week. But let's talk about each individual game. We'll talk about matchups next week. As finally we have every single team finally has a victory in the UFL. If you have any comments or concerns about the UFL, just drop them down in the comment section as we go through the show. Thank you very much for watching us, especially over there on YouTube. We got 5 people over there watching. Please engage with us here at Prime Sports World. Let's talk about week 4 of the UFL, as we had a pretty low-scoring week after what was a barn burner of a match last week. But we did have some games that went down to the nitty-gritty, down to the wire, including the first game of the weekend on Thursday night. Thursday night. This game was on NFL Network. Actually, the first game for the UFL ever to be on NFL Network. So pretty cool to see those guys on a big-time network like that. Sorry, hold on a second. But yeah, we had the Houston Gamblers and the Louisville Kings battling it head-to-head. Houston Gamblers getting their first win a couple weeks ago and then getting blown out by the DC Defenders. But this one came down to the wire. Louisville Kings been close in all of their matchups, but just came up short, but not on this day. On this Thursday night in prime time, they get their first victory. They got off the schneid 24-22. This game did go into overtime, where Jason Bean threw the pass to Trey McKitty. He gets the 2-point conversion, and they win the game in overtime, as the Houston were unable to answer with Tua Tagovailoa's brother getting that. Just unable to convert on that. But this was an absolute back-and-forth affair. Largest lead by either team was 4 points, or I guess actually 10 points. The Kings were up by 10 in the second quarter, but the Gamblers did come back. Best game of the season so far by their quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. 7-14 for 64 yards. Marcus Yarns had the lone rushing touchdown for the Gamblers. Actually, Tua Tagovailoa's brother also had a rushing touchdown. Marcus Yarns also had a 68-yard house call in this game. It was a beautiful run, beautiful play, being honest with you. Justin Hall, leading receiver for the Houston Gamblers. But on the other side, we got the best game so far this season by Jason Bean, as he had 6 for 20 yards on the ground. James Robinson, yes, that James Robinson from National Football League fame, got into pay dirt for the Louisville Kings. Jason Bean, 17-34, 192 yards. And that, no touchdowns, but that 1 pick. And Javonte Payton, leading receiver for the Louisville Kings, 3 for 46. They've been right down there, the nitty-gritty, a bunch of games this season. And now they finally get a game that kind of goes their way. If you look at their record, I mean, they're just 12 points from their points scored to their points against. 73 and 85. So they've been right there in a bunch of games, but good for them to see they get their first victory ever in the history of UFL, as they are an expansion franchise. And yeah, and it's good to see. I talked about this a little bit last week. The UFL, after the debacle in the game against the Kings, and I think it was the Storm the week prior. The UFL has already gone through. Yeah, the Louisville Kings and the Storm have already gone back and changed that rule. Like, so now, no longer if you no longer will we have that game where it's sorry, trying to do something here. But yeah, no longer will it be if you get two. It's just going to be a penalty now. It doesn't automatically mean a victory for whoever was playing. That's the right move and the right decision. And the UFL didn't wait until the offseason to make this change. They're like, yeah, this rule is bad. Let's fix it now. And so, yeah, good to see the UFL being proactive and making a rule change that benefits the league. First of all, talking about attendance a little bit here. So the Houston Gamblers, I think they played 3 home games in a row. This was their lowest attendance game of the season by far. Only had 4,800 fans in the building there in Houston. But it was the first Thursday game, and their first. So I mean, the team isn't really all that good right now. But yeah, this is they've had one other home game, 7,700 at that game, 4,800 at this Thursday primetime game. So not a deal, but I think people will eventually be drawn more and more to the product. Moving on from there, another team that got off the schneid, the Columbus Aviators. And as Austin Reed came back down to earth just a little bit in this game, but Columbus Aviators, they get their head coach back, Ted King Jr., coming back off the field stuff, and they get their first victory as a franchise, beating the Dallas Renegades, who were the best. They arguably were the best team in the UFL so far. Probably still are. Columbus gets this victory, 28-14, after a game the week before. Columbus really struggled to move the football and score, but now get the touchdown, get the victory, 28-14 in the favor of the Columbus Aviators. And this was really all Columbus from the second quarter on. Austin Reed threw a pass complete to Elijah Butler for a touchdown to put the Renegades up 14-7, and that's all the scoring that we saw out of this franchise. Is the next 21 points were scored by the Columbus Aviators as they go on to get their first win of the season. Looking at some stats here, Austin Reed, 13-27, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. His completion percentage has kind of come back down to earth to a little bit there. And if you have not seen the touchdown he threw to Drake Stoops, it is a virtuoso, beautiful score. Like, it's just beautiful TV, beautiful football. But yeah, he had the receiving touchdown. Also did Emmanuel Butler and Tate Hunter 4 for 45. But this team really didn't run the ball all that. I mean, they ran the ball effectively, they just didn't really commit to it. 12 carries for 97 yards, 8.1 yards per clip. But they were trailing for a majority of this game and kind of abandoned the run in the second half over there in Columbus at the historic Crew Stadium. My friend Nick Gleason, shout out to you, brother, I think he has season tickets to the Columbus Aviators. So he was at this game, saw them get their first victory of the season. And then, Jalen McClendon was the talk of being efficient. 10 of 15, 126 yards and a touchdown. Jaquandre White and Toa both had rushing touchdowns for the Columbus Aviators. And Kiki Kism had a touchdown, 4 for 50 yards and a touchdown, 20-yard touchdown early in this game. He had the finals. He probably had the game that basically put them up and was basically the end of it. Yeah, so he's the one that scored the game-tying touchdown. And then the Columbus in the third quarter, Jaden McClendon actually fumbled the football. It was recovered by a Columbus Aviator, and we got the big man touchdown as they go up 14-20. They tack on the extra point. And then in the fourth quarter, as kind of things were winding down here, Toa Tua rushed up for left guard. He gets 2 yards and a touchdown. They go up 28-14, and that's the final score, and that's all she wrote as Columbus Aviators finally get out the schneid, finally get their first win of the season. So shout out to them as they continue to just kind of feel their way through the first part of this UFL season. And then from the game of the weekend, which turned into an absolute barn burner, we had the St. Louis Battlehawks, and Hakeem Butler is just him. If you've not seen the Moss catch he had in this game, over three defenders, and if you've not seen his touchdown in this game, just do yourself a favor and go check it out. Unfortunately, it was 4-0. As St. Louis comes up short in this game against the DC Defenders, the reigning champs of the UFL, and they now move to 3-1, 28-22. Defenders win this game. Harrison Frost was decent in this game, but the St. Louis Battlehawks did trade for Mr. Spring King, Luis Perez, after this game, and I don't know exactly what the plan is, if he's going to start or not. But I think they needed an upgrade at quarterback play because it's been holding it back really for the last 2 seasons for sure. But this was another one of those games. It was a very entertaining back and forth affair. DC was up 25-12, and then you had the touchdown from the St. Louis Battlehawks to make it 28-25, and they get the extra point, 29-15. Matt McCrane tacked down a field goal for 28 points, and then the field goal attempt also by the St. Louis Battlehawks with under 2 minutes left. They are unable to convert the 4th and 12 to try to get the football back, and that's all she wrote for this particular matchup. Harrison Frost, just the completion percentage is abysmal in this game, and his one touchdown in this game was just an absolute human being, extra-worldly human being play by Hakeem Butler. You see, I think he went 80 yards for the house score, 75 yards for the house score. And then the other one he played like later in the game, he just literally just chucked it up, and he was just like, "Oh, Hakeem Butler's back down there somewhere. It's all going to work out. It'll be fine." But yeah, I know he said he was decent in this game. I lied. He was not decent. 6 of 21. Yeah, 6 of 21 for Harrison Frost. 144, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 28.6 completion percentage. Just not going to get it done in the National Football League. And then Dravion Howard, 8 of 85. Kevon Ludalas had the other rushing touchdown. He's only 3 carries in the game. They ran the ball especially really, really effectively in this game. 19 for 139, 7.3 yards per clip, and then that 1 touchdown. And then, Hakeem Butler had the 75-yard scamper. He broke a bunch of tackles, stiff armed some people, and just outran some people in this to get a touchdown. It was a bananas play. And then he caught another one that was even crazier, where he literally did moss 3 guys for the DC Defenders, somehow came up with a football. But unfortunately, just not enough. The Battlehawks were to fall. And Jordan Tiamo continues to just be super effective behind that beer snake there in DC, as we saw that out in full force this weekend. 22 of 36, 204 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was also their leading rusher. They just really didn't run the ball especially effectively in this game. 31 carries for 111 yards. I know the number sounds decent. It's 3.6 yards per clip, but just really just kind of ineffective rushing when it comes to the DC Defenders in this particular game. And a lot of that is because Jordan Tiamo ran the ball 11 times for 61 yards. And so he kind of skews the average here because it's really more like 2 yards per carry. Just doing quick math here. And then on the receiving game, Kiki Kuti also had a cup of coffee in the NFL. He gets into the end zone, 2 catches for 27 yards and a touchdown. And Cordell Powell, 7 for 85 for the DC Defenders as they moved to 3-1. And after dropping their first game of the season against the Birmingham Stallions, they have now rattled off 3 victories and kind of look like that team that is the reigning champs in this league. And then from there, we have the final game of the weekend, and the Birmingham Stallions continue to struggle under A.J. Buchanan as the head coach of this football team. Oh, yeah, attendance. Sorry. So DC had 7,900 fans in their 70. Let's round. Let's just do 8,000. They had 80,000 fans in their stadium for the Battlehawks visit. This game was very, very early on a Saturday, so it's good to see the fans come out for this one. And then Columbus had basically 8,800 fans in their building for their second home game. I know that it's not as many fans as they had in week number 1 for at least their first home game. But it was on a Friday night in Columbus, so that's got to be prime time, party time for Columbus, Ohio. And then Saturday had two games. The first one was very early in the morning, and then the Orlando Storm and Birmingham Stallions played in Birmingham, and they may have played, but the Birmingham Stallions didn't show up. They're now 1-3, and they're just kind of getting inconsistent quarterback play. On top of that, AJ McCarron, this is his first head coaching job. I just don't think he's doing a great job with the coaching department for the Birmingham Stallions. But the Orlando Storm get the victory here. They move, surprisingly, to 4-0. Nobody had that on their bingo card to start the season, that Birmingham would be 1-3 and the Orlando Storm would be 4-0. But they blanked Birmingham 16-0. They scored 13 points in the first half, and that's all they would need. As Birmingham just really struggled to move the football. All Matt Lannis kicks here as well. Jack Plummer did have a decent throw to Camper for 3 yards and a touchdown, but just a pretty quiet offensive game here for both sides. Matt Corral, 13-20, 83 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Anthony McFarland Jr., 8 for 30. Justin Ross, 2 for 41, all on that on the Birmingham side. And then on the other side for the Orlando Storm, 17-27 and a touchdown. Deshaun Corbin, 8-58, 30 carries for the Orlando Storm for 123 yards. And Cam Camper caught the lone receiving touchdown for the Orlando Storm as they now move to the surprising 4-0. Of all the teams, if you look at all the records of every team so far in the UFL, Orlando Storm at 4-0, DC Defenders 3-1, Dallas Renegades at 3-1, Battlehawks at 2-2, and then we have the Kings, Gamblers, Aviators, and Stallions all at 1-3. Any of those results kind of surprising for fans out there of the UFL? If you watched every single week, what's been kind of just how these teams have looked so far, and what's been the most surprising result so far that we've seen in 4 weeks of the UFL? And by the way, this Birmingham game did draw pretty good numbers for attendance-wise. This is the home opener for the Birmingham Stallions, 18,000 fans. It wasn't a great outing for the Birmingham Stallions, but these fans showed up. The capacity of that stadium is 47,000. So, they covered the upper bowl to create a similar configuration to what we see in other downsiding stadiums. But 18,000, pretty solid number for the Birmingham Stallions in their home building and the home opener for them. And then we're going to go out. We're going to give out a game ball. And, there's no way. I understand that the Birmingham Stallions that the St. Louis Battlehawks did not win that game. But if you watch the two catches that Akeem Butler had in this game, it's hard to give the game ball to anyone but Akeem Butler. 2 catches for 109 yards and a touchdown. One of them was he would just stiff arm people on the way into the end zone. And the other one was an absolute moss catch in the middle of the field over 3 guys. And I understand Battlehawks did win the game, and it kind of breaks the rules of the system we have here at Prime Sports World. But if you watch Akeem Butler in these games, sometimes he's just on another level than the other players in the UFL sometimes. And it was very evident this weekend in that game against the DC Defenders. He just made defenders look silly throughout that particular matchup. Sorry, hold on. And then from there, we're going to swing into week number 5. We'll talk about our predictions. We have the surging Defenders going into Birmingham and take on the slumping Stallions. TJ has the Defenders in this game. I will agree with him. Yeah, I'm going to take the Defenders to win this game as well. I just don't think the quarterback play right now in Birmingham is letting this team down, because their defense has been pretty solid. But I think the DC Defenders offense is going to be too much for Birmingham. From there, we got the Battlehawks and the Storm, as the Battlehawks are 2-2. Let me look up real quick if they plan on starting Luis Perez, if they did trade for him yesterday or the day before. Help if I could type. So they did trade for him. I mean, Harrison Frost was not good in this game. So I would be pretty surprised Elise Perez doesn't start for the Battlehawks. And the Orlando Storm, yes, they're 4-0, and I know they beat a Birmingham team that is relatively normally pretty good in the UFL, but they have not been so far this season. I'm going to take the Battlehawks in a bit of an upset. I think they find Mr. Spring Football. I think he leads them to victory, at least in this first week here with him under center. TJ is going with the hot hand of the Orlando Storm. He thinks they're going to be the first team in the league this year to go to 5-0. I guess we'll find out together. And then we're going into Friday night's game. You can find that on your Fox affiliate if you wanted to watch that. That game kicks off at 5:00. And then Saturday we have that at ESPN. That starts at 4:00 for the Battlehawks and the Storm. And then we have a doubleheader on Sunday. Both of these games are in ABC, so your local ABC network. We have the Columbus Aviators, who just got their first win of the season, going down into Texas and taking on the Gamblers. TJ is taking the Aviators in this particular matchup, and so am I. I like what I saw of the Aviators. I think their offense clicked a little bit there. And outside of that game, the Gamblers won. They have looked brutal for most of this season. So I will take Aviators with TJ. And as we go through the show, if you want to know, let me know what your predictions are for this particular week. And then on the other side of the doubleheader, we got at ABC at noon here Pacific Standard Time. That's 2 Central Standard Time, depending on where you are on the continental United States. We have the Louisville Kings, who also got their first victory of the season, going up against the Renegades and Austin Reed as they look to bounce back after they took their first loss of the season against the Columbus Aviators. TJ is going with the Renegades. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to agree with him here as well. So I may not catch a lot of ground on TJ when it comes to our predictions this week. But I just can't go against the Renegades, especially not in this particular matchup, especially at home. I just think that they're a better football team. And I think Austin Reed is going to benefit from some home cooking there in Texas as they look to move back into 4-0 and get back off the schneid after they dropped their first game of the season. But as I mentioned, let me know what you think down in the comment section about the UFL season so far. Who do you think is going to win these matchups in week number 5? And what did you think about the action we saw in week number 4? But yeah, thank you very much for joining us. This has been our 2026 UFL season, week 4 recap, week 5 preview. We are Prime Sports World. And if you like what we're doing here at Prime Sports World, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. We got a really busy few days for you here at Prime Sports World. We're going to do our final mock draft here at 5:30 Central Standard Time. So if you want to get the final mock draft and let us know where we think players are going to end up, as there has been a shakeup in the top 10 as Cincinnati traded for Dexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy. So now the Giants have 2 picks in the top 10. So it does shake up people's mock drafts quite a bit. And then on Friday, we're going to have a recap to the first round of the NFL draft, give you our winners and losers, kind of preview what's to come in the next couple days in the NFL draft. It should be a very exciting time to be a sports fan. And then on Saturday, we are going to recap the WrestleMania week that was, talk about both nights of WrestleMania in Las Vegas. We're going to talk about Monday Night Raw, and then we're going to talk about SmackDown as well on Saturday. And I will give you guys my full experience being at WrestleMania on Saturday, as it was a very, very fun time and something that I will absolutely never forget. So keep an eye out for all that content. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. I'm David On Point Huppin, and we bring the heat. See you later.